So hello, everyone. Okay, am I speaking now? Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining today's January Lunch and Learn. We're so excited to have everyone here. I'm Carol Battle, and I manage the Health and Wellness Program for through the Office of State Human Resources. I'm a firm believer that something good always happens out of something bad. And truly, the idea of offering a monthly statewide virtual lunch and learn came out of this awful pandemic that we're in. As long as you and your fellow employees across the state enjoy this event, we plan to continue offering it to you virtually during the last week of every month through the end of the year, through November of 2022. I'd like to give a special shout out to Kara Rouse, who's part of our NC Flex team and is our technical expert for all these presentations. Thank you, Kara. During the event today, you're welcome to ask questions through the question tab on your screen. And Katie will answer those during the cooking demo. As well, everyone who has signed up, whether you're attending or not, will receive a recording of today's webinar and a handout for making SMART goals, as well as a link to all the recipes that we go over today. At this point, I'd like to introduce our presenter, who is Katie Godin. Katie's been a registered dietitian for 15 years. Her experience with Lifestyle Medical Center has focused on helping individuals achieve realistic goals, along with improving their relationship with food. Lifestyle Medical is a dietitian network that is in network for all of you who are enrolled in the state health plan. So virtual visits and telehealth should still be covered by the state health plan, but definitely check with your provider beforehand. But that would allow each of you across the whole state to be able to work with Lifestyle Medical as well. Today's topic focuses on setting SMART goals along with meal prepping relative to bringing a healthy lunch to work. I think you'll all enjoy this and learn a lot. Another concept that I firmly believe in is that a goal without a plan rarely works. So let's welcome Katie and get started on making some plans.
Thank you, Carol.
You're welcome.
Hey, everybody. Thank you for joining today. I'm excited to be able to do this, just like Carol said, these virtual events and lunch and learns. I think we've made the best of an unfortunate situation. And one of the things that I've loved most throughout the pandemic with work has been able to do these cooking demos. To be able to be in my own kitchen and to be able to do it from home has been exceptionally comforting and enjoyable. And so I'm glad that I'm able to share that with you guys today. Today we are going to talk about SMART goals, and we are going to focus them around meal prepping and goal setting for work lunches. So yeah, let's get started. All right, Kara, thank you.
All right, it's on the screen. Are you able to see it, Katie?
I am able to see the presentation. Yep.
Awesome.
Thank you. Mm-hmm. We can switch to the next slide.
Gotcha. Yes. Okay.
So guys, what are SMART goals? The thing about SMART goals that sets them aside from just a plain old goal of I want to be healthier, right? So there's ways of making things goals more specific, allowing them to have more structure, allowing them to kind of have that easy pathway towards your goal. And then also being able to have this estimation of when you've achieved that goal. I think all those things are really important when you're goal setting. Okay, Kara, thank you. So why should we use SMART goals? Why not just say, oh, hey, I want to drink more water? You know, why not put a little bit more emphasis on the specifics and the information around it? So why we want to use them is just because when I think we're more elaborate and we're more specific in the goal that we're setting, we're able to stay a little bit more focused on that goal. Having that clear explanation of what it's going to be, what it's going to look like, how long it's going to take for us to achieve that goal is just valuable. It's valuable for you to have all of that information in the works. So what does SMART actually stand for? You guys have maybe heard the term before, but maybe you've forgotten what exactly that acronym stands for. So the S stands for specific, the M is measurable, the A is for attainable, the R is for realistic, or relevant is another common R for that particular part, and then the last is T for time-based. Okay. Okay. So when you're thinking about the specifics, as far as that goes, you know, we want to think of specific actions that you're going to need in order to put this goal into place. Who's involved? Where is it located? What resources are you going to need most importantly? Okay, Kara. So the M stands for measurable. So how will you know when you've achieved it? I think this is a big important part as well. Tracking and measuring the specifics of these particular details in your goal are going to really help you towards that accomplishment of that goal. So A is for attainable. Is this something you have control over? I think that's something to think about as well. I think that's really important. Are you able to achieve this? Think about what resources you're going to need. Are they, you know, resources that you're able to grab a hold of? Is this something that really is realistic, which sets us into that R part of SMART? Is it realistic? Is it relevant? I honestly think this to be one of the most important parts of setting SMART goals. Why is this applicable to your life? Does it seem worthwhile? Does this goal match your efforts and your needs as far as what you need in the moment right now? I can't tell you how many times I've had people come into my office and, you know, a lot of times their goals are weight focused, which I try to shift because obviously I get people are trying to lose weight and they're trying to see the numbers change, but there's a lot more meaningful things that we could be focusing on. You know, maybe it's bringing our blood pressure down. Maybe it's, you know, being able to move our bodies for longer than 5 or 10 minutes at a time. So a realistic goal of, I would like to be what I weighed in high school, you know, and so I think that's where we try to kind of put things in perspective for people when we're counseling, trying to make sure that these goals are worth your time, are meaningful, are realistic. Okay, last is time-based. How long is this going to take you to achieve your goal? Is this a goal that's going to last a year? You know, maybe it's I want to run a marathon, but I'm not able to run 2 miles. So that's not going to be completed in, you know, 2 months, right? So that might be a lengthy goal, but there's things that you can do today. There's things that you can do in 3 or 4 months, and there's things that you can do in 9 to 12 months in order to succeed with a goal like that. And then there are goals like the goal we're going to talk about today, which is setting a SMART goal around bringing lunches to work that obviously can be done in a shorter amount of time. So I think it's important for that reason to have this in-depth way of putting all this information and these specifics around setting a goal. Okay, so I want to ask you guys, obviously you can't answer, that's one of the downfalls of not being in person, but so Kara, if you'll go to the next slide, we'll look at if these are SMART or not. So I'll read the first two, all right? So the first one is, I will walk 10 minutes every hour, 5 days a week. I will remember to do this by setting alarms on my phone. And then the second one is I will eat less sugar. So I think you can clearly see which one is the more detailed goal here. And that's going to be the goal that I believe that people are going to be more easily able to meet and succeed. And when you think about it, when we're goal setting, we really want to be able to succeed, right? That's what gives us that momentum. It's what gives us that, that empowerment to be able to feel really good about ourselves and accomplished. And so again, if I had a goal sitting in front of me that was that detailed, it would be easier for me to follow through with it. And that's the point of them. And so then the next two on the page are I will reduce eating at fast food restaurants to once a week, and I will bring lunch to work 4 days a week to help me meet this goal. And then the next one is I will go to bed earlier. And so again, you can see the one that's more detailed there. All right, guys, so we're going to create a SMART goal really quickly. I'm going to give you guys to send home, or Carol's going to email you guys a page that's going to help you with all the information that I'm talking about right now. In addition to the PowerPoint, it's going to give you kind of that layout of how to actually go through the steps of creating a SMART goal. But we're going to do one right now based around bringing lunches to work. Okay. So, all right. So we're sitting down, we're brainstorming, we're going to create a SMART goal. All right. So we want to pick from a category first. And obviously there's way more categories involved than the 4 that I put here, but I've focused these categories around lifestyle. And so if we're trying to make a lifestyle change and we're thinking, okay, well, where can we start? So maybe there's something we could do with our food or our nutrition habits. Maybe there's something that we can do with exercise. Maybe there's something that we can do along the lines of stress management, which is one of my favorite things to focus on. And then maybe there's something that we can do with our sleep habits and hygiene. Also a really big one. So a lot of times, just to kind of side note here, a lot of times when people come into the office and they want to get, a dietitian visit, the first thing that they might think of is, I want to change the way that I eat. Of course, I need to lose weight and I need to change the way that I eat. And maybe, you're thinking about, I need to increase my exercise. But a lot of times, you're not thinking about, okay, well, what kind of stress am I under right now? How does that impact the way that I eat and my ambition to exercise? How are my sleep habits? So these are really, really important things that we focus on during visits. Okay, so it's not just going to be about changing what you eat and adding in that exercise. It's going to be a well-rounded approach. So after you've chosen that category, which today we're going to focus on lunches, nutrition, then I think it's really important that you kind of think through, what are your barriers in order to succeed at developing this goal? You need to think through, well, what makes this challenging for me? Is it time? If I'm thinking through lunches specifically, that's what I hear a lot. I hear a lot of time. I don't have the time. I don't know how to meal prep. That's a big one. I don't have the resources available. Maybe it's budget. How am I going to eat healthy? I can't afford that. Those are things that your dietitian can also kind of work with you on too. Help you think outside of the box with some of these barriers, help you, break down those walls a little bit. And then you can get into working through your steps to setting your SMART goal. And obviously I'm going to work you through one today. But again, if you decide that you want to go see a dietitian and you want to learn and work more on these SMART goals and how to formulate them, that's what we can do in the office or on telehealth as well. All right, Kara. Okay, so our goal is lunch meal prep. All right, so there's 6 steps. And again, the worksheet that I'm going to give you is going to be laid out in these 6 steps with more detail, more, questions and things like that to kind of prompt you and help you to answer these steps individually. So the first step is it's going to want you to write down your goal in as few words as possible. So, after you've done that, then you're going to want to make those specifics, okay? And it's suggested that you start with maybe 3 action steps to reach this goal. And we're going to go over all these steps on the next slide. I'm just kind of, giving you the rundown of what each step is right now. So after you kind of knocked out that S, those specifics, then you're going to make this goal measurable. What are some details, any measurements that you can do, or any tracking details that you can do to your goal? And then how are you going to make this attainable? What additional resources do you need? That's important that you understand what you need in order to accomplish this goal. Then you've got your R, so how are you going to make this relevant? Like I said, I believe that R is number one, the best thing that you can focus on, really, because after you kind of decided that goal and worked through those barriers, why is this relevant? Why do you want to reach this goal? What kind of meaning does this have? Because if it has meaning, it's going to have more purpose and it's going to give you that drive, right? And then we're going to make it timely. So we're going to put a time limit on this. And I think giving yourself more time than not. Don't ever say you're going to accomplish something in a week. I don't care what it is, right? Like, I don't even care if it's just drinking more water or whatever it is, or just give yourself adequate time. All right. Okay. So if we'll go to the next slide and we'll put this all together. Okay. So that first step was to put your goal just in a simple phrase, right? And our goal is to bring our lunch to work. Okay. Now we're going to put some specifics behind that goal. So let's think of 3 action steps that we can include. So the 3 things that I just you might have different things that you feel are more important actions for you to accomplish this goal. This is individualized. This is not, one size fits all here. But these are the things that I chose. Having those lunch items on hand, okay? So you want to have things in the refrigerator, guys. You want to go to the store. You want to make a list. You want to think about what you're going to make, okay? So you need to have that information available to you. Highly suggest making this lunch ahead of time, the night before, folks. Don't do it the day of. I make mistakes all the time. We're only human. I'm classic to forget too, but I'm telling you, when I make it the night before or a couple of days before, it really makes me feel so good. And I remember that feeling too. And, I think I have people always think back, what was that good feeling you had, when you felt like you were really just doing something well? Let's think back on how good you felt. Let's use that as that ammunition to kind of give you that drive. And then setting a reminder, another big thing. I've had lots of people tell me, and I feel so bad for them. I've done it too. I've made my lunch the night before and then I'll walk out the door and I forget it. Okay, so that's just kind of, like, wow, really? So set a reminder on your phone, put a Post-it note somewhere, don't forget lunch, put it on the refrigerator, do whatever you have to do. Okay, so those are just some examples of some action steps. How are you going to measure this? How are you going to track it? Oop, Kara, can you slide back to that? Thank you. I'm going to measure and track this goal by setting those reminders, okay? That's a great way to track it, is setting reminders. Something else that I love to do, and I think a lot of people like to do, is do a little check mark. I don't know what it is about that. You could do stickers, you can do whatever, but I love to check something off that makes me feel really good. I don't know if I'm the only one that still keeps an actual calendar, or if everyone is on their phone these days, but you can do stuff on your phone too in your notes. Or for my time and my age, I do not do a lot of technology still, like a lot of people do. I like to have a physical calendar. So something that I kind of thought of for myself is checking every time. Like, I make little check marks on my calendar every time that I've packed my lunch that night before. That would make me feel really good. Additional resources, okay? That's the attainable part. Additional resources. What are you going to need? Okay, well, you're going to need a lunchbox, or at least something, that container, meal prep container. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. It doesn't have to be anything expensive, but something to put your lunch in. Some easy lunch ideas, right? That's where we're coming at you today. I'm going to give you some easy lunch ideas to kind of get you started. And then you are going to need time. You're going to need time devoted to some prepping. The idea behind today is that I'm showing you some easy, simple, I've got a meal that I'm going to cook, and then that you can use for, 4 days. You can kind of meal prep. It'll take you 30 minutes to make it or less. And you've got 4 lunches for the entire week. Boom, done. Or I've got some no-cook recipes that you could do, just a couple at a time. But you do need some time. You need to set aside some time. And then relevant. How is this relevant to you? Why do you want to reach this goal? Is money driving you? I really want to save money to spend it on something worthwhile than just these silly little lunches that I keep buying because I forget to bring my lunch. Or maybe it's because, remember that feel-good feeling? I feel better when I eat lunches that I made from home. And not to say that we can't go out there and get really good quality lunches and pay for them. Of course you can. But it's something about feeling like you've made a balanced meal, you've done it yourself, you feel accomplished, it's going to make you feel good. And the time, I put a month. Maybe you're going to get the knack of this in a couple of weeks, but why not give it a little bit longer just to make sure, okay? All right, Kira, if you'll go to that next slide, we'll put this all together, okay? So let's read out of all that information. This is a SMART goal that I've made. I will bring lunch to work at least 3 out of 5 work days each week. Something that I didn't say just a minute ago. Always give ranges. 3 to 5. Don't say I'm going to bring it every day. Every time that we get really ambitious, we want to go big or go home. Let's just kind of dial it back and let's give ourselves that little bit of wiggle room. Okay, 3 to 5 work days each week. I will remember to do this by having the foods available and setting reminders on my phone each night to pack my lunch for the next day. I plan to reach this goal in 4 weeks. All right, guys? So that's just how you put it all together. And that goal, you are going to do much better at succeeding at following through with this than if you were to just kind of tell yourself and not even write it down. I think I just should bring more lunches to work. Wonder how long that'll last, and probably not as long. All right? All right, guys, so let's meal prep. Okay, so the first thing that I'm going to make today is, let's see, Kira, if you'll go to that next slide, we're going to do a sweet and sour chicken. So good. I'm going to give you ideas for making swaps, adding to it, doing things a little differently, but I'm going to make the recipe as is. And this is a super yummy one. I love the blog Clean Food Crush, okay? cleanfoodcrush.com. Excellent blog, lots of easy recipes, a lot of good quality ingredients and things like that she uses, but I think that they're realistic to make at the same time. Okay, and then if we'll go to that last slide, these are going to be some no-cook options. Today, I'm going to show you how to make a tuna avocado chickpea sandwich. Maybe you're not a fan of avocado. We can work through that. Maybe you don't like chickpeas. I think you might actually not taste them as much in this because they're more mashed. But there's other options that you're going to get emailed, okay? So, all right, guys, I think it's time to get started with this cooking demo, all right? So the first thing we're going to do, is we are going to make the sweet and sour chicken, okay? All right. I'm going to get my stove started here real quick. All right. So guys, just bear with me a little bit. I am going to show you different angles throughout this presentation. First thing that I am going to do is I'm getting my my nonstick pan heated up. I like to get it heated before I put anything on it. That's really helpful for nonstick cookware. So is to kind of preheat it for a little bit on like a medium heat, okay? And you're gonna get the recipe for all this, like I said, but I'm gonna just talk you through it. The first thing we're gonna do is we are going to coat, actually, first thing we're gonna do is make this sweet and sour sauce. So the sauce is super duper simple. I don't know if you guys think a lot of times when you see a recipe and you get a little overwhelmed when you think, oh gosh, it's homemade sauces, or I gotta make my own dressing. This is a great website for an intro into making your own sauces, and they just are simple. They're simple. And a lot of times, one thing that I've found with certain recipe blog sites and things like that, they try to use a lot of similar stuff. So if you buy, you know, a big thing of soy, I got some low sodium soy sauce here I'm going to use in a second. She likes to use that in other sauces too. So you don't have to worry about going out and buying 1,000 different things and then never using them again. Okay, so let me angle this down to my bowl here, which is empty. I'm going to add some stuff to it. Okay, so this sauce is going to be our sweet and sour sauce. And I am going to start with a cup of pineapple juice. And I wanted to show you guys real quick. I like to get the little single Dole pineapple juice. Something else that I've done before, if you like to use pineapple in your sweet and sour chicken, which is something that she doesn't do, but it's a nice twist if you want to add some chunks of pineapple to it, is you can just use the juice from the pineapple that you buy. If you get canned, I like to get it in, you know, its own juice and things like that. But anyway, I just bought the little cans so that I don't have a lot of waste instead of buying like a big thing of pineapple juice. All right. So I'm going to add a cup of pineapple juice here. And then she uses a lot of tomato sauce. So I have a cup of tomato sauce that I am going to measure out and add into this recipe. All right. So I just have a cup of sauce going in. All right. You can either use honey or you can use maple syrup. I'm going to use honey because I kind of like the thickness of it. So I'm going to use honey for this recipe, which is great. A nice natural sweetener option. So really the only sugar that's coming from this particular recipe is the honey and the pure pineapple juice. All right. Okay, so we have some honey going in there. Okay, so now we're going to do 3 tablespoons of a low sodium soy. You guys can also use something called coconut aminos. I don't know if you've heard of this before. Her recipe mentions it. And that's if you do want a soy-free alternative. Some people decide that they, you know, want to do that for certain reasons, if they're allergic or, and then she uses a little bit of onion powder, garlic powder, and I'm gonna say that I'm gonna omit the cayenne pepper. I'm not a real spicy girl, but that's something that you can also add, is kind of play around with the heat of the recipe if you like spice. Okay. All right, so I've already got my my onion powder and my garlic powder measured out, so I'm just going to dump that in, and that is it, folks. I'm just going to mix that up, and I'm going to have that sit for a little bit while we cook the chicken. Okay. I have to say that's an easy sauce. It really is about 4 ingredients. Okay, so I'm going to just set this over to the side and then we're going to cook this chicken. All right, guys, so I'm going to just kind of shoot it over here to my pan, bring it in a little bit. So I'm going to add about a couple tablespoons, maybe a tablespoon to start, of some oil. Dump that up. I'm using olive oil. She used avocado oil. Both are great options. Avocado oil is fantastic specifically for maybe a little bit of higher heat. Let me get this chicken in and then I'll talk about that. So I'm going to take about 1.5 pounds of chopped up chicken. I'm telling you guys, this took about the most work, was chopping up this chicken. That's about it. And then I am going to coat it with a couple tablespoons of almond flour. Now, yes, you could use different types of flour. You could use whole wheat flour. You could use another gluten-free flour if you needed to. I just like almond flour. I like that it's a little bit of a lower glycemic load. It's a little bit lower in carbohydrates if you're watching that. So if you have diabetes or you need to watch your carbohydrate intake. And I just like the flavor of it. And it's really good for baking too. So, okay, so I'm just going to kind of sprinkle that on there. This is kind of just going to give it a little bit of a coating. So I'm just kind of mixing that up a little bit here. And then I'm going to add it to my pan. All right. Okay, make sure everyone can see that. So guys, okay, this is going to cook for a little bit. If anyone has any questions that you want to talk through for a minute or two, this has got to cook for about 5 minutes, and then we're going to add the vegetables. So you know what I might do is while we're kind of answering some questions, I'm going to chop some vegetables.
Okay. So one of the questions, Katie, was, do any of the recipes have an food allergy?
Sorry, I couldn't hear that very well. What was that?
Sorry, can you hear me, Katie?
Yeah.
I think Carol's having some technical difficulties.
Uh-oh, okay.
But there's a few questions in the chat we can go through.
Okay.
Someone said, let's see, do any of the recipes give an option to food allergies? I'm not sure. Let's try. Let's see, that someone asked, is a sweet and sour chicken lunch option okay for people who have diabetes?
Yes, yes, definitely. I'm going to put it all together in a meal prep. I've got the sides that go along with it. What goes really well with this are a couple of different options, but the almond flour specifically would be really well just because it does have a little lower in carbohydrates, a little better for that glycemic load and that glucose response. I'm serving it with brown rice, which again is just fine for anyone that has diabetes. It's really the only carbohydrate load. I know that it has a little bit of sugar and pineapple juice in there, but considering it's going to be for maybe 5 or 6 servings, I just don't think that that's going to be enough. And you've got a lot of protein involved. So anytime you have sugar that's coming from natural sources like the honey and the pineapple juice and things like that, when you have a lot of protein that's making a bulk of the recipe, that's going to slow down the response of your blood sugars, and it's going to make it a little bit more even. And considering that I'm also going to serve it with a high fiber vegetable, some cooked broccoli, and just a half a cup of brown rice, that should be a very well balanced meal for anybody.
And then a lot of people are asking for how much you're using of each thing, but we let them know that we'll be sharing the recipe afterwards.
Yes, I know, guys. I'm trying to say it as I'm using it, but I know it doesn't really put it all together until you see that actual recipe. But for the sauce specifically, I just used a cup of pineapple juice, a cup of the tomato sauce, and then a few tablespoons of soy and 2 tablespoons of honey. And then I used a half a teaspoon of garlic powder and a half a teaspoon of onion powder. Yeah, so that was it. And this is 1.5 pounds of chicken. Okay.
They're asking also if it's chicken breast that you're using.
It is chicken breast. Yes, it's chicken breast that I'm using.
And someone asked if there are any ideas to substitute tomato sauce, and also someone asked if you could use low sodium tomato sauce.
You definitely could use low sodium anything. So if anyone is watching, their sodium content, then yes, changing it up to any low sodium varieties, especially when you have canned products, yes. And then I think for a substitution, I've seen people use things like a low sugar, or if you're watching your sugar intake, ketchup. So that's something that I've seen before on her blog. So that would be maybe my first recommendation.
Someone asked if you use the coconut aminos, does it taste like coconut?
No. It tastes like soy sauce. It's a great alternative.
And someone also asked if they could substitute tofu for the chicken, and I'm assuming they can.
Yes, 100%. I was definitely going to go through some vegetarian swaps and things that you could add to this recipe. You could definitely add any type of meat alternative. You could do tofu for sure. If you really just wanted to bulk up the veggies in this a little bit more, I know that I'm going to be serving it with broccoli, but you could add things like water chestnuts. I love bok choy. Any type of stir fry, I think it would go with this recipe too, just to give it that little extra fiber, little extra kind of flavor. Again, the water chestnuts, if you like that crunch. Yep. So just to show you guys right now real quick, I am just, can you see this? Okay. I'm just chopping up a bunch of 4 peppers. So we're going to use 4 peppers, and I just wanted to kind of add all the colors to make it pretty. So I'm just doing that, and I've already chopped up an entire white onion, because we all know what that does, and I didn't feel like taking all those pauses to worry about my eyes watering. Any other questions?
Yep. Do you think the honey can be omitted when using amino acids?
I think the honey is really going to help provide the sweetness. And I really think that it's going to taste too tomato saucy if you don't have that extra sweetness to it. So I think it would change the recipe up. But the thing about it is, trying things out and experimenting is sometimes the fun part of cooking. If it's something that is, depending on what the reasoning behind the honey is. If you don't like honey, if you're allergic to something for some reason, if you are worried about the sugar. But again, this is a low sugar recipe. Really, 2 tablespoons of honey is not going to make it this high sugar recipe. Yeah. So, but anyway, yes, I think you can experiment, but I do think that it would taste a little different. I think you would notice the tomato sauce taste to be pretty strong.
And some people are asking about substituting for soy sauce, and someone asked if there was a substitute, and then someone asked if they could use Bragg's Aminos instead of soy sauce.
Yes, that's the coconut Bragg's Aminos. Yes.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yep, you can definitely use that.
Okay.
All right, guys. So what I'm actually going to do right now, and then I'll definitely answer more questions, but I just want to show you, I cooked the chicken for about 5 minutes. All right. So you can kind of see over here, kind of lift my pan up. You can see the chicken starting to kind of get cooked. I like to cut it in really small bite-sized pieces so that it cooks pretty quickly. All right. Then we've got my sauce. Okay. So I'm just going to pour the sauce over top. All right, so we've got the sauce in there, and then what we're going to do is we're going to bring it to a simmer. So we're just going to kind of stir the chicken around in there and let that kind of simmer up a little bit. So all we've got in there right now is chicken and sauce, okay? So I'm going to let that kind of simmer up and bubble up for a second. So if there's a couple more questions, I'm happy to answer while we do that.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Someone asked if there was any substitute for tomato sauce.
Right. That was, I think we talked about that one. I think I've seen on the website ketchup, but that was the only thing that I have seen as a substitute for the tomato sauce part.
Yeah. And could you use cornstarch instead of flour?
Yeah. And you know what? Sometimes I like to throw in a little extra cornstarch if it doesn't get as thick as I would like it to. But yes, you can definitely thicken it with cornstarch to however thick you would like it.
Okay. Someone asked if almond flour can almond flour be a pantry substitution for all-purpose flour?
Yes, definitely. Yeah, and that's what I use today. And so the almond flour I love it. I think it's super versatile. It's really good for baking. Sometimes flour alternatives like coconut flour, for example, isn't as good. So I keep almond flour in my pantry all the time. And it is a little more expensive. You've probably seen the prices on it. But again, if you have diabetes, if you're worried about blood sugar, carbohydrate response, if you want something that's gluten-free, then it's a really good, versatile option.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right, guys, so I have gotten that to a simmer. What I'm going to do now is we need to add in all these yummy vegetables. All right, so I've got all kinds of color. First, I'm going to just kind of pile in my peppers. Lots of vegetables. And again, guys, this uses 4 peppers. If you're not a pepper fan, then like I mentioned, there are endless options as far as what else you can add. Onion, okay, I'm going to dump a bunch of onion in there. Okay, and I'm just going to kind of mix all that up. I just think it is such a pretty dish with all those different colors. I just think it's really, really pretty, and it's going to go really well with that broccoli and with that brown rice. So now once you've kind of got this coated and stirred around a little bit, it's going to want you to kind of simmer that for about 10 minutes. And I'm trying to remember if I need to, no, it doesn't want you to cover it. So I'm just going to kind of keep it on low and continue to kind of stir it for about 10 minutes. So while I do that, I thought that I would show you guys, again, please ask me some questions while I kind of switch gears and get the tuna avocado, the no cook option, ready for you guys. That one's really quick, so I thought I'd do that while this is still cooking. So any more questions while I get some of that stuff together?
Yeah, someone mentioned using dates instead of honey.
Yeah, you could use dates. I wonder if you would make it into more of like a paste and kind of, blend that up, make it into more of a paste. But yeah, sure. Dates are great. Naturally sweet. Love dates. Love dates. I love cooking with dates too. I don't know if, one thing that has exposed me to a lot of different flavors and things that I don't know if you guys have done any meal service, things like Blue Apron or things like that. I'm currently doing Blue Apron just 1 or 2 days a week just to kind of have something that I don't have to meal prep and it's kind of given to me and it's fancier than I would normally cook. This is how I cook. I cook simple, easy. I've got 2 kids. I need it to be fast. I need it to be quick. But I love being in the kitchen and cooking. And so that is, I think, a nice option for if you want something that's just a little bit fancier and fun, but everything's already kind of pre-measured, which is nice. But I've done a lot of cooking, making sauces with dates, and I think that it's just such a delicious, wonderfully naturally sweet way of enhancing a recipe. So, I mean, you could certainly try that.
Mm-hmm. And someone asked if there is something other than water chess for the crunch.
Bok choy stem, like the end of the bok choy, the white part of the bok choy, is definitely going to have a little crunch to it. So you could use the bok choy for that. The leaves part are going to be a little bit, of course, more soft. So that would be maybe an option. That's kind of all. Ooh, another thing that you could do that I saw that is a fantastic thing to do for this particular recipe, a nice little Asian twist, is to chop up maybe a few cashews and sprinkle that on top. I'm also going to top the recipe with some green onions to give it a little bit of crunch too. So that those two are a couple of things that you could try to do.
Someone said they love your kitchen, and someone said they like your technique for cutting up peppers.
Oh, nice. Yeah, it's nothing fancy. I just kind of did it and it works for me. I think you realize that when you're in the kitchen. It's like, this is what works for me. Sometimes I like to watch tutorials to try to see, how do they do this? I don't know. I can't remember when. I mean, it's been a while, but I remember when I figured out like pressing the garlic to get the peel to come off. That was a life changer. So if you don't know about that, which a lot of you probably do, but that I just remembered being a game changer when I was starting to cook. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put together this chickpea salad and talk to you a little bit about that while this is still simmering. So there's 4 no-cook options that you're going to be sent. That's again from Clean Food Crush website. The one that I chose to make was the most unique, and I figured, why not go for the most unique when you're doing a cooking demo? It's something that maybe wouldn't gravitate towards, right? And so it's a spin off of the classic, clearly using tuna, making tuna sandwich. But I love that you're adding chickpeas for the fiber, for a little extra protein. It's a nice plant-based addition. So again, I mean, some vegan tuna salads with chickpeas in it is a great substitution. So if you are looking to add more beans into your diet, which is something that we should all be doing, we need to be adding more fiber, more beans, more plant-based nutrition, as much as we can. I do not think that we all have to become vegetarian, vegan if you do not want to, but I do think we all need to be adding more plant-based foods into our diet. So that's why loading up the vegetables, loading up extra things like legumes into your meals is a nice fun twist. Okay, so what we're gonna do is, it's just a cup of chickpeas, guys. So I literally drained and rinsed a can of chickpeas, and I used a cup of those chickpeas. And I'm gonna put that in a bowl, and I'm gonna show that to you in a second. And then an avocado, half of an avocado, if it's large like this one. If it's one of the small ones, then you can use the whole thing. Avocado is a fantastic substitute for mayonnaise in a tuna salad. So this tuna salad does not have any mayo. I'm not anti-mayo. I do not think that you have to make a tuna salad without it if that's your jam and you love it, and like, you know, it's just your favorite from childhood and you're not gonna mess it up. Totally fine. I get that. I'm just a big pusher of trying new things. And so not letting the old things go necessarily, but just trying out the new ways and seeing if it's a nice option alternative. So we're going to mash half of an avocado with these chickpeas to use as kind of the base for our tuna salad. And I'm going to show you how to cut the avocado. Again, if you don't know how to choose an avocado, okay, this is a big thing that maybe some of you know, maybe some of you don't. Do not ever get an avocado that you can press and just press on in and just completely indent it and it's too soft. It's gone bad, and I get super frustrated, but I'm very polite. I don't say anything. I just internally get frustrated when I go to the store and all the avocados are like that. And if someone is buying them, I will literally tell them not to, because it's just they're expensive and you don't want to waste your money. And so you want it to either be firm, if it's super firm, like rock hard. If you're not going to use it for a few days, or even like 3 to 4 to even 5 sometimes, depending on how hard it is, then go for it. But otherwise, the perfect avocado is one that you can kind of just lightly indent. You can kind of press it. It's not rock hard, but just a little bit of an indentation into it, okay? So how to cut an avocado. Make sure that you guys can see this. Still have my sticker on here. So just kind of put it right here, right in the middle, and you're going to feel that pit. And you're just going to curve it all the way around. All right. And then, can you see me? Okay. Then you're just going to kind of twist it off. And look at that. Can you see that? Oh my gosh, y'all. The angles are hard sometimes, but perfect avocado. Okay. So that's your pit. Save the half that has the pit in it. The half that has the pit in it is going to be the one that doesn't go and brown and oxidize as fast. Sprinkle, this is exactly what you could do. Take a little bit of this lemon, sprinkle a little bit of that lemon on it, cover it up in plastic wrap, and that is going to last you a lot longer in the refrigerator, okay? So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to take half this avocado, and I'm trying to find my spoon. Hold on one second. Okay, so I'm going to take my spoon, and you're just going to kind of want to curve it around the sides here, like this, and then it's just going to pop right out. All right, and then I'm going to put it in my bowl with my chickpeas. Now, I have a masher here, you know, like if you were going to mash some potatoes, something like that. I like to start off with that and just kind of get those chickpeas a little bit easier than just using a fork. Probably could have used a little bit of a bigger bowl, but we're going to make do with this. You guys see this okay? Okay. So this is how we're just kind of mashing up this mixture. Might have a little bit more of some texture than your normal tuna salad with those chickpeas in there. But with a fork, I'm going to be able to kind of mash down a little bit more of the chickpeas. Okay. So then I've got just a fork, and I'm just going to kind of take and just mash in a little bit more of those chickpeas that are.
Hey, Katie, can you tell us how many servings the chicken recipe made?
The chicken recipe is going to make at least 5, I would say 5 servings. A good week's worth. Should last you a week in the refrigerator, no problem. And you can freeze this recipe.
And then someone wanted to know if the pineapple juice was sweetened.
Yes, it's just 100% regular pineapple juice. It's not sugar-free or anything like that. Guys, let me get a bigger bowl real quick. Okay, so the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to take, let me get, where am I here? So we're going to add in, I'm going to just kind of pour all this in here, this nice mash, which makes 2 servings, if not more. Sorry, let me angle this back down. Sorry, guys. Okay. We are going to chop up some green onion. I love green onion, and if you don't like it, you can omit it. Another thing that I saw, it's about 3 tablespoons. I'm just going to go ahead and kind of eyeball that because I love green onion and I don't care if it's over. Is you could put some red onion in there too. Okay, so we're going to add that. We are going to add in our tuna. Okay, so I have a small can of tuna, not a lot of tuna. One thing that I thought about this recipe is it could use more tuna. I think what you're gonna do is kind of decide, do you like it more like kind of a guacamole avocado taste, or do you like it more the tuna taste? So you can kind of decide that. So we're gonna mix that up. I think one of the most unique parts of this recipe that really is going to make it a nice, fresh springtime, which I know we're all, where is spring, is lemon. So there's a little bit of zest. So when you're zesting a lemon, you're just going to take like a small grater and the peel, and you're just going to shred it right over, okay? And this is calling for, I think it was, all it wanted you to do was have half of a lemon zested and squeezed in there. So you can just kind of go around the entire lemon and zest as much as you want. It depends on how much lemon flavor you like. Because the zest is going to make it taste really lemony, all right? Just squeezing a little bit of that lemon juice in there like this is going to be a little bit more milder. All right, so now my little secret touch on this recipe. So there we have some chicken salad, or excuse me, y'all, I meant tuna, chickpea. I'm going to put it on, I'm going to show you two different bread recipes, not recipes, but two different bread options. And then I'm going to take this chicken and do the finishing touches, and then we'll have two recipes done. So 1 second. I thought that this went really well with rye bread. I love rye bread. I think it's delicious, but there's lots of different options that you could do. I definitely recommend toasting. I do not have this toasted right now, but I recommend toasting it because it really brings out a nice flavor. Okay, so we're just kind of load that up. And then one thing that I thought adds a little bit of heat is some sriracha. Okay, so that's something that I did. I don't love heat, but for some reason I like a little sriracha on tuna. So I just do a small drizzle on there, but it really gives it a little something special. So I'm just gonna kind of, just a little drizzle on there. Okay, so now you've got your tuna sandwich. And so what I paired this with for a lunch meal prep is, and you can kind of cut these smaller depending on your what you have to serve it in. All right, so you've got 4 little mini sandwiches. Okay, I've paired it with some carrots and some cucumber and some berries. And then you can obviously have a dip like some hummus or a veggie dip or something to go along with those carrots and cucumbers if you'd like to. If you're not sick of guacamole by this, you could get little holy guacamole packs. I love to use that for dipping for vegetables for a snack. And as far as meal prep containers go, guys, I've got 2 options here. I've got this particular one, which is glass, a little bit more sturdy. I like to store actual leftovers and things like that in it. And then what I'm going to use for the sweet and sour chicken, which I'm going to get out in just a second, is these are kind of you can wash and reuse these, but they're meant more for just like 1 or 2 servings. So they're a little bit cheaper, but you know, you have to buy more of them. So there's lots of different options. But I have a half a cup of brown rice here, about, you know, a little bit more than a 1/4 cup of broccoli. So you could definitely add more of that if you wanted to. And then as far as the sweet and sour chicken goes, it is good to go. So we've got the finished product over here. I am going to say that a little bit of cornstarch would be good in this. It is a little bit more runnier, a little bit more saucier than I would have liked. So like I said, you could add a little bit of cornstarch to thicken it up. But let me kind of put it all together here, and you can see it. And again, guys, you know, you do this, it takes maybe about 30 minutes. Kind of put some of that sauce in there. And you have lunches for 4 or 5 days.
And where did you purchase your containers, Katie?
I got the glass containers off of Amazon. Lots of different options on Amazon. Depends on the type of container you want. I preferably like for stuff like this, I like where you have a bigger kind of main opening with a little bit of a side opening for something like rice, or you could also use cauliflower rice for this, guys, if you wanted to go low carb. And then for your tuna sandwiches and things like that, this with the 3 compartment option are kind of nice, because then you can add in a fruit and a vegetable, because your dish isn't all kind of all in one like the cooked dish was. So I got this off of Amazon in a 3-pack, and then I got the other containers from Target. Yeah, so you can get them off Amazon, but I kind of just wanted to see them, and I like these for you know, just for various things. If we're kind of going on a road trip or something like that, and I just want to put some things for my sons in the back of the car to kind of snack on. I like stuff like this. So yeah, I know that we're a minute behind or out of time, but I don't know if there's any other questions that people just really wanted to get answered.
There were a lot of questions that we weren't able to get to, but what I did was let everyone know we would get the Q&A, and maybe I can share that with you. And then if we can answer some of those, we can send that out to everyone afterwards.
Definitely. I'm more than happy to do that. I know sometimes it's hard to get to everyone's question during a hands-on presentation like this, where I'm doing stuff and trying to answer. So I'm more than willing and happy to do that. Yeah.
All right, and Carol, are you able to talk?
Yes, Katie, this was wonderful. Thank you all for attending. And like Kara mentioned, we will be able to share the questions that weren't answered with Katie and get her answers. And we'll be sending that along with the presentation and your worksheet. And of course, the link to the recipes. So I hope you've enjoyed this, and look for announcements about the one in February.
Yes, I look forward to seeing everyone then, and thank you for allowing me this opportunity.
Thank you, Katie.
Yes, thank you, guys.
Thank you all.
All right, have a great day.
All right, bye everyone.